4. How many of you here are trying to learn how to run a community network? And that would be your next step. Okay, about the same number of people. So what are the rest of you people doing? So, what's that? Never. Good call. So I run a network in Southern California for 19 tribes that's called the Tribal Digital Village Network. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it online. We're really horrible at updating that stuff. In 2001, there was an opportunity. There was opportunity equals money sitting at Hewlett-Packard for what they call a Digital Village grant, and we had somebody that had the vision to take some technology that was being used with wireless communications that happened across a reservation down there and tie that to the Tribal Chairmen's Association, 19 tribes, and then bring that Hewlett-Packard money in to develop the Digital Village Network. I came on about 8 months later so just full disclosure, I'm a recovering graphic designer, and now I'm a director of technology. And so I came on as a designer building websites and teaching people how to have community web portals and things like that in conjunction with this network process. And the network just wasn't going anywhere. We weren't building it at a rapid pace. And they kind of picked me up to become that director and push that initiative. So tied to Hewlett-Packard money, we were able to build resource programs and at each reservation for after school, for kids, for learning, and realized that those were kind of not functional if they didn't have access to the resource of the internet. So part of that money, the last little thought process of that money, was used to develop a network. And of course, back in the day, running on 2.4, we had 3 megs, woohoo, 3 megs at the data center being piped in, and we were able to serve the communities. We currently, or at that time, we had 7 communities connected. We were able to send email and do all the things that you could do at that time. So once you started attaching pictures to email, then we became useless. So we had to rethink this, and we had to evolve with the changing demands of the network, of the people, of the resource, and over the years, we've fought for different types of funding. We were also awarded a BTOP fund. We've been recipients of E-rate subsidies for library schools and Head Starts. We've gotten grants from RUS. We've gotten private foundation money from Community Technology Foundation of California, Zero Divide, which is what they are now, several other different small organizations. And we've had influx over the years from different influence, support from engineers to policymakers to, universities and government organizations. It's really hard to do this alone in a vacuum. So all of these partners you can find on some of our information who we've been involved with over the years. But it's really helpful to build this as a community and to look at it as a community. If you don't have the expertise on the ground, you reach out and people are willing to work and help with your projects and building these things. So we finally had a network one iteration back at least, where we were able to serve what was currently being called broadband speeds, and we have 100 tribal municipalities, give or take, and we have all of our library schools and Head Start programs connected to this, and that's all a free service or something that's involved with E-rate. And then we had to figure out a way to become sustainable. So we determined that the fee-based service had to be to the home customer. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is nobody respects free. It's so weird. If you have a free service and you provide a free service to people, they do not respect it, and they do not, they don't realize its value. And if you add just a nominal fee to cover your costs and your function, all of a sudden that becomes a whole nother animal, and it's respected, and people are concerned about it, and how do we make it better, and all of this stuff. So really interesting dynamic we learned over the years for that. But this was about 3 or 4 years ago. We had a fee-based service startup. We connected upwards of 500 homes. We've had some attrition based on quality of service in our most remote areas where we don't have the most robust network aspect. And then through E-Rate and through some other programs, we've been really fighting to try to figure out, okay, what is a commercial grade network when you're providing solely wireless? We have fiber to our data center. 16 years later, I finally got fiber to the other end of the network, so we're now a redundant scenario versus single point of failure. What is commercial? What is reliable? What is quality control and value to the community and such? I'm looking out at Godfrey and Jody, who runs the Mescalero Apache Telecom, and he knows that because they started out in telecom and they have regulation and all this stuff. We started out as a, for lack of a better term, a hobby network, right? We built this Wi-Fi network, we started providing broadband, and all of a sudden now we have to be responsible. People are using their telephone over our network. They're doing different stuff. We're not a regulated telephone provider, but oh my goodness, how do you manage this entity that you have, and how do you make it responsible? Well, we have 26 towers, and 23 of them are running on solar power. So we are in San Diego, and we do have a whole bunch of sun. But the number one reason our network goes down is power related. So one of the things we've been doing in the last year, which is taking us forever, is actually going with a commercial grade engineered solar system that is being deployed to carry autonomy for several days, backed up in the important places by generator, working on a vertical column-shaped wind solution just to do trickle power through the night and through the storms to keep the batteries up to speed. Getting away from 64 batteries daisy-chained together to make a battery network. We're actually buying full-sized 4,000-pound cases that have rack-mounted systems in them, and we're upgrading to the latest technology in photovoltaic panels and the highest rates of capture. And so we're figuring out, okay, this is one of the things. If the network's up and running and that becomes reliable. So power was our biggest concern. Then we started talking about spectrum, and spectrum, I could talk about spectrum all day long, but what we said today, some people's opinions are plenty of spectrum. Other people's opinions are ridiculously small slice of spectrum. Agreed, fully agreed. And then other people's opinions are, why isn't this a common owned thing? Why does the U.S. have control over this, and why can't we use it freely? Well, in the area of spectrum over the years, we've become our own worst enemy as far as actually deploying, because some of our towers are so saturated in the unlicensed space. If we want to put something new up, we have to take something down. So then we started looking at, okay, how do we license point-to-point microwave from the FCC, which is a much more affordable solution, take some of our backhaul, some of our bigger links, put them on an FCC licensed spectrum space, free up what we were using in the 5.8 or 5.3 or wherever we are. The unlicensed spectrum, sometimes we use 24 gigahertz in the backhaul with a new Ubiquities, I can't remember their name, but they're gigabit radios. And so we've been starting to shift things around to better manage our spectrum that we have available to us. Of course, we'd love to have 400 megahertz, some of the stuff that just whips through trees and goes around rocks and does all the magic fun stuff that cellular does, but we don't have access to that. Secondary market license, it's a pipe dream in San Diego. Verizon and AT&T have it, and they love it, and they hoard it, and they should be on that show, Hoarders. It's just one of those things. We've actually had those conversations, and without getting too far into depth, we've hit the wall. We worked on, I believe, I don't know if Brian remembers this or not, but it's docket 1140, I think, at the FCC that's been open for maybe 9 years. We've pushed and pushed and pushed to try to get that secondary market license to be something at the FCC that they could help us negotiate. It's never come to fruition, and it's not going to happen under this administration. So, there's all these things you're juggling. You have a bunch of balls in the air or plates spinning on the end of the sticks, and you're trying to figure things out. And when it all comes down to it, what's the most important thing for your customer or your community? And that is the access to a functional and reliable network. Sometimes it's going to be a little slower, sometimes it's going to be a little faster, but if you can keep it up and running, you have a much better quality of service. And as we move into this next iteration of our network, our backbone is now on commercial grade solar, and all of our intermediate distribution is growing that way. We have a much happier customer, and we're much more likely to gain more customers based on word of mouth, and people that actually want to be a part of the network and actually want to work there once they see a successful model. So that's just a quick flash into the Tribal Digital Village Network, and I'm here till tomorrow night, so please come up and ask me. I have tons of business cards, and I'll share with you, and I think I'm on panels and other things moving forward, so thank you very much.